Antaresia. My first question is, why aren't poplin spotted pythons more common or available, since we have like a hypothetical import source? Or
well, I think they just started getting brought in, as far as I'm sure they've been brought in before, but if they did, they probably got bred back into the Australian stuff, because there is no that's such a clusterfuck. That whole somehow Stimson's children's and Western Stimsons are the same, but then you got Cape York spotteds and the New Guinea spotteds are different, but yet Papuan carpets and Darwins are the same. Well, there's genetically they're identical, seemingly identical, and then you got like water python, the Queenslands and the New Guineas are identical, and it's just silly. It just seems silly, but it is what it is. So
right, I was just thinking, like, because we have an import source, we could get Xanthics or wild caught. So if people wanted to like prepare their collection, but let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you. Which of Antaresia do you think a ball python person should buy, and why? You got to pick one-ish. No, you don't. There's no rules, actually.
There's no. Well, two of the better ones, honestly, would be either your spotteds or the children's, as far as they're just the easiest to get started. Pygmy pythons are probably the prettiest. Well, Westerns are probably one of the prettiest, I think. But they're a bit more of a pain to get started. Pygmy pythons are really hard to get started. I've heard some people say it takes 6 months to get them eaten, but once you get them eating, they're some of the meanest snakes I own. They'll eat the side of the tub. And my male and females are in V18 tubs, and they got more room than a ball python does in a CV70. I mean, quite a bit more room. So, I mean, they're small, but yeah, they're a pain in the ass to get started.
You ever thought about like just breeding viper geckos or pictus geckos?
That's exactly what I thought about doing. Same thing with chondros too. I keep hearing these people talk about their prolapsing issues, and I kind of wonder, pythons are never meant to digest milk, and you feed them these pinkies loaded with milk, and I wonder if this is what's causing the issue. But no one really ever feeds lizard, in this day of age. Why? Well, I get why, because there's more viral transmission that can happen between, squaw mates than there would be mammalian and reptiles. But if you got a good, clean colony, and I don't know, I'm sure you could. Some like black-headed pythons are almost expensive enough that I'd almost justify breeding a group of bearded dragons just to feed them that.
But I think that's okay, right? That's what they're supposed to eat. If we're trying to give them the best life, why are we like making up jokes? I'm just viper gecko, like no expense. No, sorry, Richard, you're in the chat. But like, viper geckos and pictus geckos. Pictus come out bigger, but viper geckos are like teeny tiny, like baby anole size. Okay. And you could just delicately take that little shit and just drop it in there and just let
it happen.
This is how we have nice things. Is I think the work.
I think the one thing, the reason why I was kind of hesitant to do it was because rodents, for the most part, you could just drop in, and you could drop in pretty quick and easy. A gecko, depending on how fast that species is, you could have a colony going in your room if you weren't fast enough and closing the lid or anything. Unless if you had it strike off the hemostats or something, or take it off hemostats, but I don't know.
Well, like vipers are terrestrial and pictus are terrestrial, so they can't. They can like half scale glass when they're young, but not really. They sort of fall off. So like that's why I was thinking of a terrestrial one, because it would have the shape and movement. But
yeah, I can see like some of those geckos. I was even thinking of some skink species, but I know skinks can be, depending on the species, can be pretty fast. So I'd be more nervous throwing something like a nulls and stuff like that, and I could already see it just pop. I've done it with rats before too. You throw the rat in, it just pops right back out. So that's how Right. It's not fast enough.
That's what okay. Then it's like free range fruit feeders growing on your, you know, spiders or whatever in the corner, and you just pluck them off. I'm kidding.
That's what I feed. That's what I do feed some of my adult Antaresia, my black-headed pythons, is those iguana lynx. I'll feed them either iguana lynx or maybe quail or some birds, you know, similar to reptiles as far as, you know,
like
body fat and all that. Yeah, so
do you have a hard time converting them, or?
No, they eat them fine. They black-headed python, Antaresia will eat almost anything. When you get them going, I mean, they'll eat your fingers. I'm not kidding. They'll eat almost anything, you know.
And then for the ball python people, do they have the king snake like tendency of just gnawing on exposed flesh like a rosy boa does?
Yeah, kind of. Like most of mine are as babies are pretty chill, but then it's like I had some as adults, they would hit this stage in life where you would handle them for a little while, and then you would start getting that constriction. Like it would start squeezing you more. And then shortly after that, you would start getting a curious head kind of looking at your hand all cockeyed. And then it would just be a real slow, deliberate bite to kind of just try it.
Right.
So
it is funny because it's like you can watch their 3 brain cells working together.
They're like, by God, I think I can take this hand.
From like a superficial look, I like that spotteds are more like the better contrast version, and so like you could play with like the depth of the contrast or making it darker or redder or whatever in general, and then but children's have T+ in the US, so
some of these morphs, it's probably just a matter of time, you know. You never know. Just when you think something is getting stagnant, all of a sudden, hey, this albino just popped out of nowhere.
Popped out of somebody's pants, you mean?
Right. hey, you know, sometimes this stuff hides in people's shoes. There was a lady who went to Australia for vacation, and this happened years ago, and she went back home, I think it was Ireland or something, and she had a little spotted python in her shoe. Went through the flight and everything, and I go, wow, can't believe. Well, I guess they're so small. I mean, maybe it just didn't pick up on anything, you know, because it was like a tiny little neonate, you know.
Hopefully it went to a zoo at least.
Oh, they usually always, for the most part, I don't know if any they get. Usually there's someone they send them to, Paul Harris or, you know, someone like that who generally gets all the good stuff first, and then us peasants get it later.
Richard says I can't read. Notia Benoe are better options. Partheno gecko. Yeah, I think it's more about like getting the cost per unit gecko down. So if it's Partheno, but like mornings, they're kind of not that cheap to make because they are Partheno too. But you like lose too many of them just running away and like sneaking out. So it definitely needs to be terrestrial.
Right.
All right. So Antaresia is a yes. Some species of it, right?
Yeah. And like I said, it's just, what's your tolerance on like just small? Like I said, I've said this before, but it's true. There's such a thing as it's so small, it's intimidating. You know, it kind of falls. Well, you deal with corn snakes. How big is a corn snake when it hatches, weight-wise?
Unicorn fart. You know, 3 grams. They're almost the same weight as the pinkies they eat.
No way. They're 3 grams when they hatch?
3
cow.
4 grams.
Okay,
yeah, pinky might be a gram or 2.
You would be an expert then, because you would be perfectly fine, because I think my Stimson babies are like 6 to 7 grams. Roughly.
Some of them, corn snakes are like surprisingly stretchy, so they're good at, you know, dealing with our feeder supply. But if they weren't stretchy, like they were a little king, like I don't know, what are the smaller kings, mole kings or something?
Yeah.
Then their mouths are smaller. I would have to, I don't know, do something because you know kings they don't stretch as much. They're more about like crushing and fighting. Yeah, I like Antaresia. My only thing is like the more polygenic variation that's in the wild and that we have access to, the better your chances are of like having morphs, having projects, having people be interested in them. So that's sort of one of the criteria that maybe they sort of fall down on a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lack of diversity and stuff. You don't get, you know, you won't get all the different color variations. You know, you're stuck with a limited gene pool, so you only got so many different looks you can go after. So yeah, that's the one downside with them. But I always tell people, I go, you never know. I don't know. As far as like what happens or what could happen, I don't hold up my hopes are never high though when it comes to Australia, but you just never know.
Thank you for watching. If you like that video and you want to hear more of my conversation with William Filipek about other python species besides ball pythons, check out this video right here.